Welcome to the first episode, Best of Breeds, a podcast by ProptechOS. My name is Erik Wallin. I am the Chief Ecosystem Officer of ProptechOS. ProptechOS is a platform for smart buildings and especially for applications that is based on the open standards, Brick Schema, and Real Estate Core. Today's podcast is with ClimaCheck. ClimaCheck is the leaders in fault detection and diagnostic analytics for heat pumps and especially for heat pumps in the cooling sector. ClimaCheck is the inventor of the internal method, which is used globally for analyzing heat pumps. I have together with me today Carl-Johan Håkansson, the CEO of ClimaCheck, and that will give us a little bit guidance into the mystery or the kind of opportunities that we have using the ClimaCheck system. Welcome, Kalle.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice to be here. Appreciate it. It will be super fun to discuss some heat pumps optimization, cooling plants optimization with you.
Yes, we have been working with you at ClimaCheck for many years, and it strikes me every time when we are running a new client that are using ClimaCheck on top of ProptechOS. Almost every time there are lots of rooms of improvement. The heat pumps are poorly configured or they are mismatched to the secondary circuits. There are usually a shorter, longer list of issues to fix. It just strikes me that how do you allow this to continue to happen? You're just wasting energy. And I can just say that the really cool thing here is that ClimaCheck joined the Real Estate Core standard a couple of years ago and are now totally plug and playable on, for example, ProptechOS. So, Kalle, what is your kind of secret sauce that you have?
we think, of course, this is a no-brainer, and we do our best to try to push this message out in the world. Of course, we're working with a lot of big companies like IKEA and Sands casinos in Asia, Bernard Hospital, Urbana Health Hospital chain in US and so on. But it's still a lot of companies or people not aware of ClimaCheck. And do you want to know what we are doing, Erik? Actually,
Tell me the secret.
yes. I often get that question, from my friends. Kalle, what are you actually doing? We are analyzing online diagnosis system for heat pumps and cooling plants. And Kalle, what are you talking about? So I decided we compared to a car. Everyone knows about the car. You're sitting in a car, you have your dashboard. In the dashboard, you can see how fast you're driving, if the oil pressure is good, the temperature on the cooling liquid, and so on. More or less the same thing you have in the building. But in the building, it's called building management system. You have also a dashboard there on your computer. You can supervise the building. You can see what's the temperature in the rooms and so on. And you can get warnings. And ProptechOS is collecting a lot of these kind of sensors in the building and try to gather them in a good way and integrate them in a good way. But if you're driving and you are unlucky that you have a big red lamp in the dashboard saying that the engine is something wrong with the engine, and you should go directly to the garage. And the first thing they're doing at the garage is actually that they plug in a diagnose tool to check what's actually wrong with it, because they can't do anything without this diagnose tool. They know nothing, basically. So they plug it in, they can see if the camshaft is some wrong angle or whatever they can find. We are doing the same thing for the engine of the building. What we think is the cooling plant or the heat pump. So our diagnose tool is measuring on these devices to see if everything is running efficient enough. And we can also break it down per component. So if the compressor or the condenser or the evaporator or the expansion valve is working in the optimal way. And if it's not, we can see that on gouges in our dashboard in ClimaCheck online. And then the property owners can take proper action to fix this. So does it make sense? Do you understand, Eric?
Yeah. I think it's a good comparison. And also then when we are kind of leveraging the maximum of ProptechOS and Real Estate Core, how we can also then make these into work orders, into facility management systems or ticketing systems. I mean, it's all about automation, finding the errors and doing automation.
Yeah.
I think that is a good comparison. And I also know that you are kind of focusing in supporting different domains, the kind of pillars that you're standing on. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, okay, you have the diagnose tool, but what are you going to use it for? What's the benefit for the customers? So we usually say that we are leaning on like 3 pillars. One is the ESG, the environmental reporting, mainly. That could be a big burden for a property owner, and it's very important as well because they'll be rated. If you have a green rated building, they get better loans, better interest rates, and so on. So it's essential for many property owners. With the ClimaCheck reports, they can use this right out of the box for reporting purposes. So that's one thing. And that I think that will increase in over time as well, and these ESG demands will also.
So I mean, what you are doing when it comes to all of the EU taxonomy or the SEC filing that's around the corner, is that, I mean, just then by saving, of course, but also that you can actually get the kind of KPIs, the key numbers that are needed for reporting as well, but also that you can monitor and make sure that you are staying on track of your goals.
Exactly. Number 2 then that we are pushing hard is, of course, then predictive maintenance. Today, usually you wait until something breaks down completely, and with like a catastrophic failure that can result in all kind of damages and downtime and a lot of costs, of course. With ClimaCheck, we can reduce that with over 60%. Because we can see when you have this performance drift over time, you can see if a compressor is slowly reducing in capacity, when efficiency, it will sooner or later fail. And we can also easily see if you have leakage of cooling media and that kind of thing.
And I think I've seen some examples. We have a common client, one of Europe's largest property owners, where that actually was so impressed by ClimaCheck when he got a notification stating that this compressor, if you don't fix it, that will break within 2 weeks' time. And I've also seen so many times that the kind of your expertise is that you can say it's either this fault or that fault by 50% chance. You can pinpoint to the installers what they should fix.
Yep, exactly.
Really cool.
In that case, actually, one of our founders actually called this property owner on a Friday evening and saying that I can look at this system now. It will break down any hours. You need to stop it now. So they send out some people and they just closed it down. So that's correct. So number 3, energy saving. We can reduce energy consumption in a commercial building with around 10%. Of course, depending how much cooling capacity or heat pumps you have in the building, but usually in the ordinary commercial building, you have maybe energy consumption is 40%. The rest could be ventilation and illumination and other kind of things. And then we go in and can do optimization, and we can usually reduce it with 25% for the heat pumps and so on. So overall, that makes 10% for the entire building. And that's a lot, of course. And the reason is that often the parameters in a cooling or chiller or heat pump is factory default. And then in the reality, it should be completely different settings. So by just changing some parameters without installing any new equipment, we can reduce the energy consumption easily. So that's a very, very low hanging fruit.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, as compared to all the other investments that property owner can do, I mean, as you said before, this is really a configuration exercise to make sure that I think you made a comparison with the car before, that you could be driving 70 down the highway on a low gear, and the engine would be screaming, but you would be happily surfing along at your right speed.
Exactly. Yeah, because the correct temperature in a building is not necessarily an optimized system. You could actually kind of work, but you're wasting a lot of energy. But also, as you say, a property owner, they usually sit down and decide, now we're going to make some energy saving here. So we have some different activities we can do. So what do we have on the list? Yeah, we can change the windows to more efficient windows. We can add some insulation. We can put some solar panels on the roof. And you know, all these activities are really heavy investments, with the return on investment could be 10, 15 years. But what we are saying is, with a very, very small investment with ClimaCheck and with ProptechOS, you can gain a lot of saving and a return on investment far below 1 year. So we think that's why we think this is a no-brainer. And that's why we try to push out that here is what you're going to start with. You can do the rest as well, of course. And in combination will be a lot of savings, but you should start with optimizing the heat pumps and the cooling plants, because that's standing for a big chunk of the energy consumption.
We have been working together doing a national-wide project in Germany, doing benchmark across Germany. I mean, as heat pumps are picking up in popularity, seen as one important component for fighting back on the climate change, to do something about it. I think this is really cool, especially also, as we said, Kalle, that one of the big benefits is that when you're using the ClimaCheck application on ProptechOS, is that your staff that actually has to send that white car to repair a system or to reprogram it, they're using one system independently, if it's a Daikin or a whatever the brand of the system, or the BMS, or if it's BACnet or Modbus, whatever it is. We are together facilitating this part.
Yeah. Yeah, and the big new thing is that everything now we have integrated it with ProptechOS. You don't need any extra hardware. Everything is exchanged from cloud to cloud and integrated. So of course, that has been a different thing compared with a couple of years ago, when a lot of the sensors were missing and so on. You needed to add hardware.
If we start wrapping this up, I think what I have learned from this is you are the global leaders of heat pump, and especially for cooling plants analytics. You actually have a patent for this internal method. You are extremely focused. The myth of you take 10,000 hours to be good at playing the violin or master some skills, that is basically what you are doing every year, or even more, in just developing the tools and the analytics. And I also understand that you are also using advanced mathematical statistical methods, equal machine learning and AI methods. I think this is typical. And as what I have seen is how we are connecting this. We are taking your expert and you are putting that into algorithms, and then you are creating work orders using ProptechOS to dispatch this to the right places. We're talking about automation, scaling. That is the kind of key. How can we do this cost efficient and at high scale and fast? If we're looking at targets that the majority of property owners or heat pump owners has when it comes to reducing energy, I mean, there's really little time to do this.
It's basically thermodynamic math combined with 100 man years of experience. And now we actually combine it also with machine learning, and it's especially efficient for us. I think it's rather hard to try to use machine learning on like a heat pump, because it consists of so many parts and so on. But for us, with 15 years of data, and from each of the component we can apply machine learning, and we can take use of all this data we have to make it much more efficient for us to create more customer value, and also reach the automatic fault detection and diagnostics, so we can get out a work order directly from the system.
Kalle, thank you very much for coming and sharing your expertise. And thank you very much, everyone that are listening and looking at this. There are more information about ClimaCheck and ProptechOS in the link that will be shown. And don't forget to subscribe to the ProptechOS Best of Breed podcast. Thank you, Kalle. Thank you, everyone.
Eric.